Let me talk a little bit more about pulse and blood pressure. If your spread is 8 points lower than it should be, right? So let's say your blood pressure is 120, but your spread's only 42 and it should be 50. That typically means that your pulse is going to be 8 points higher. It's a 1-to-1 correlation. So anybody here had a high pulse, your spread was probably too low. Okay? If you can get the spread to where it should be, your heart rate comes down. And that's powerful. Let's go through this for just a second. Imagine, anybody here have a heart rate of 80? No one? Okay. How about 70? Remember? Well, if you had a heart rate of 70, and let's say your heart rate, I believe, should be closer to 50. Let's say it's beating 20 times more than it needs to every minute. Okay? That's 1,200 extra beats every hour. That's more than 25,000 extra beats every day. That's more than 175,000 extra beats every week. Okay? We're talking about 700, almost 800,000 extra beats every month. We're talking about in excess of 9 million extra beats per year. Now, it's been said that every mammal, the mammal heart, in fact, I think heart, maybe heart in general, but certainly mammal hearts, have, on average, I think it's 10 billion, 100 billion beats. That's the average lifespan. Now think about that. What if you could reduce your heart rate by 25%? What should that mean? You can live 25% longer. Okay? This is one of the keys. You need a strong heart. It makes a big difference. So, and hydration is part of this. It's not the only factor, but it's a significant factor. Okay? One of the reasons we look at temperature every day, I'll be honest with you. I don't really care if your temperature is 36 or 37 degrees. Makes no difference to me. Okay? Now, if it's 32 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees, then we have an issue. But if it's within a normal range, it doesn't matter. The reason we look at it is because your temperature also affects your pulse. I want to know how much of the effect we're seeing is because of the change in temperature. That's why we look at your temperature every day. Okay, primarily. All right? Normally, what happens, the higher the temperature, the higher the pulse, the lower the temperature, the lower the pulse. Unfortunately, it's not a 1-to-1 correlation. Sometimes it has little effect, sometimes there's more effect. I believe, I haven't actually studied this, but it occurred to me recently, after wondering about this, why this might happen. So, how many of you notice when you have an infection, you tend to have a fever? Anyone notice that? Why do you think that is? What's going on there?
Your body's trying to make it less inhabitable for the pathogen?
Perhaps, and your white blood cells actually work harder at higher temperature. Okay, so your body raises temperature on purpose when there are particular types of immune activity going on. So here's what occurred to me recently, a couple months ago. Maybe if your temperature is higher because your body purposely raised the temperature, it's not going to try to lower it by speeding up your heart rate. Because one of the functions of the blood is like radiator fluid to cool the body down. But what if your temperature is higher because the ambient temperature is higher? Now your body might want to cool itself down a little bit. And so we're typically going to see the heart rate go up. Okay? So my guess is if we were to go back and try to look at what was going on, what we would see is that if temperature were up, for instance, temperature won't vary tremendously here, but there'll be days maybe that are very sunny where it feels pretty warm. And there'll be days where it's not so sunny. It might feel quite a bit cooler, 4 or 5 degrees cooler. On cooler days, almost all of you are going to have a lower temperature, except for the individual who has a fever on purpose. The body's raised temperature on purpose. On warmer days, almost everyone here is going to have a higher temperature. Okay? In those cases, your pulse rate will usually be up a little bit. But if your body has raised temperature on purpose, would it be counterproductive and then try to lower it again? My guess is it probably wouldn't do that. Does that make sense? Maybe.
So I've noticed when I exercise, my body's temperature increases.
Uh-huh.
Do you know like how that combines with the rest of what you're saying about temperature changes?
Yeah, I mean, your body, if you raise your body's temperature being active, your body's going to work harder to cool it back down. Your heart rate's going to go up.
No, I'll exercise, and then even after I shower, like full shower or something like
Uh-huh.
that, internally it feels like I have a furnace on. I feel warm.
All the activity has raised your body temperature, and your heart rate's going to speed up to cool itself back down. How efficient your body is depends on how quickly your body can cool itself back down. Okay, but that's what's going to happen. Any questions on anything here? Does this make sense to everybody?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm following everything that you're saying about the systolic and
Really?
diastolic.
That's
Yeah,
never happened
and-
before.
But, for example, my numbers yesterday were 134 over 77.
Okay?
As per what you're saying, it seems like it's within the range because the spread is about 57.
It's exactly 57.
Yeah, so,
At 134, where the spread should be around 55.
okay.
That's fine.
So that's
It's perfectly fine. Yeah.
'cause I'm just trying to decipher like what is normal.
And I think I told you yesterday, it looks like you got enough water. Right? That's why.
Make sure.
Right. I probably said, did I say to anyone here, you probably didn't get enough water in the last 24 hours? Yeah. Okay, that's why I said that. That's what I was looking at.
So yeah, I think mine, my systolic, I think was 108,
Uh-huh.
and then my lower one, I can't remember, but I think you said it was like 50 something, the spread.
Don't know.
I know, I remember that. I just
Okay.
remember the bottom one. So if my spread was too high in that case, what is that?
Well,
Does that
again,
mean I'm just-
there's...
I was dehydrated perhaps?
No, it doesn't mean you're dehydrated. There's a range that's acceptable. Certainly if you're within 10%, it's no problem. Medicine would typically say if the spread's below 60 points, that's okay. If it goes above 60 points in that range, then it means there's something in your system that's not working the way it's supposed to. There's an issue there, which your body will likely correct as a result of this fast. Okay, it'll usually get corrected. But there will be people sometimes where the spread needs to be higher than it really would be ideal. Where at 120, your spread's going to be 65 points. And if your spread, the next day we see a 50-point spread at 1, wow, that's perfect. Not for you, it's not. If your spread's consistently 15 points higher, it needs to be right now. And if it drops below that, it's really like you're not getting enough water.